So I just got done playing Final Fantasy VIII. I finally beat it after years and years of not actually having done so because my memory card got corrupted when I was a kid. And now I want to make that your problem. So when I was playing Final Fantasy VIII as a child, I thought that my ultimate goal was to kill Sorceress Edea. And then the story of the game decided that that was only going to be the case for Disc 1 and 2, and I learned very quickly that Japanese RPGs like to do twists and turns, and then it made me fight a girl named Sorceress Adele, and then my disc got corrupted. And so I was not able to finish the game. As an adult now, I finally have the ability to finish the game and found out that I was one section away from completing my entire campaign. And this monkey on my back would not have existed at all. But now I know that the actual villain of the entire game looked like a woman who could 100% ruin me. And like I said, I'm gonna make that your problem. Ultimecia Time Sorceress is a Dimir and 3/4/5 human warlock who says when she enters or attacks, we surveil too. At the beginning of our end step, we can then pay 8 mana in order to exile 8 cards from our graveyard. Is it just because it's Final Fantasy VIII that we can get rid of 8 cards and pay 8 mana? Is that the flavor reason? Anyway, she flips into Ultimecia Omnipotent, a Menace 7/7 commander with time compression. Not actually spelled the way that she spells time compression when she speaks to you. She is kind of written weird in Russian in the game. Here, let me show you. Here, let me just run over there with the team that I actually finished the game with and show you. This woman speaks much weirder than how she's spelled, and I don't know why I'm fixating on this at all, but I am. But like, look, we begin with this cutscene, and then we see her, the woman who can in fact ruin me, and then we see that she actually speaks like all of her C's or K's. Swarming like locusts across generations, the world was on the brink of that ever-elusive time compression. There, see? It's like she's a weird Russian lady. But Russia doesn't exist in Final Fantasy. It's definitely up there in terms of being quite agitating. I'm gonna go back to the deck list now, because I don't want to watch her beat my ass again. Anyways, this woman gives us extra turns, and reminds me that I had a Monster Girl thing when I was a kid, because I'd watched Species. That movie's weird. Anyway, so what are we going to be trying to do here? We need to make sure there's enough cards in the graveyard so that Ultimecia is going to be able to transform, and we need to be able to make sure we can reset her so that we can get that extra turn ability more often. We don't want to chain these extra turns together because, well, bracket 3 players and extra turns don't really get along very well. In fact, I personally hate extra turns, but she is the villain of this video game that was a monkey on my back for like 22 years, so I'm perfectly a-okay being the villain to make this work. So, how do we make opponents lose when we have extra turns? Well, we have some big creatures to punch them in the face with. We're going to be running Ancient Stone Idol, a giant 12/12 Trampler, a Triplicate Titan, a giant 9/9 Flying Vigilance Trampler, Sepulcher and Diluvian Primordial to recast things from our opponent's graveyard, Blight Titan to turn the self-mill we're going to have to use into big creatures, and let's also put in an Inkwell Leviathan since it's a very hard to deal with big dumb dude. Then we have Sir Conrad the Grim so that our self-mill has another way of burning people out. These are going to be big reanimation targets, and some of these, like the Diluvian and Sepulcher Primordial, are going to be able to be big blink targets, because blinking is how we are going to reset Sorceress Ultimecia. So we have 7 blink spells here, with the most important one being Meneldor the Swift Savior. Meneldor actually can be used to chain together multiple extra turns with Ultimecia if your table is okay with you doing that. If you've got a graveyard of like 40 cards and Meneldor and Ultimecia are out, you've got the mana, you've got 5 or 6 or 7 turns ahead of you to do whatever the hell you want. Then let's add some more blink with Nephalia Smuggler. This can also be used if you've got, 12 mana, this can be used to chain together in extra turns with Ultimecia. Blur, Planner Inclusion, Teferi's Time, Twist, Essence Flux, and Siren's Ruse are all one and done ways of blinking cards. Remember, these can be used to blink the Primordials, which will give you far more power than blinking Ultimecia sometimes, so use these as you want and as you will. Just make sure to use them, well. Then we're going to have the Reanimation package, a Liliana Death's Majesty to get any creature from our grave, Victimize in order to get 2 creatures from the grave, along with an Ever After to do the same thing, Coiling Rebirth to get a creature from the grave and clone it if we're willing to give somebody a card, and a Dread Return to reanimate anything from the grave as need be, and it's got Flashback in case we throw it away on accident. Oscar Rubbish Reclaimer is also going to be here so that when we discard our non-land cards, we can just cast them from the grave so that we don't actually lose those cards. It's like giving all of our cards madness effectively, and you'll see why this is important later. And our commander does have the ability to surveil whenever she enters or attacks, so let's add in some surveil synergies. A Disinformation Campaign, which will allow us to draw a card and force every opponent to discard a card, and anytime we surveil, we can do it again. An Eye of Duskmantle, which allows us to play lands and spells from among the cards we surveil, and Case of the Shifting Visage, which allows us to copy non-legendary creature spells, which can become very nasty when you see that most of the big reanimatable dudes we have are all non-legendary, with the exception of Sir Conrad. And our removal package has a lot of creatures in it because we need to close out games. This will cause us to get a lot of stuff really, really quickly. That all said, that is the core of the deck. Mill cards out via the draw package we'll show you here in a minute, and make sure we've got big enough guys to close out the game if we have 2 or 3 turns available to us. That all said, let's talk about that draw package, as it is very important. Hey, real quick, I just want to ask you to do me a huge favor. Please consider following me over on Blue Sky and other social media linked down below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing that as well. And if you want to financially support the show, obviously there's Patreon and a 4th wall link down there with a playmat, but you can also click on this mana pool link and pick up any of your singles that you want over there. That link gives me a kickback and helps me out a ton. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll get right back to the video. Now, this is probably one of the thickest draw packages I've made for a deck, and it's mostly looters, so we can get things into the graveyard with Ultimecia. So, Reckless Scholar, Merfolk Looter, Bonded Fetch, Looter Ilkor, all of these are your standard looters. Thought Courier as well. They draw us a card and discard a card. Then we have the more complex ones like Shoreline Looter, which draws a card and discards a card, and then if we have enough cards in the grave, it'll just draw us a card in general instead of discarding. Dreadwing Scavenger, which draws us a card and discards a card, and then also allows us to have a Flying and Death Toucher later in the game if need be. And then we have Obsessive Stitcher, a looter that can also reanimate things from the grave if the need arises. And Mazzolani the Great Door, another looter that can reanimate things from the grave and give us all the mana we ever could possibly want to flip Ultimecia a bajillion times, though remember that as we get rid of things in our graveyard, the core will get significantly weaker as the game goes on. So this does have a hard capped limit. And because we have those blink synergies, let's throw in a Mole Drifter for better draw, a Wharf Infiltrator for a final looter, and you know what? Kiora the Rising Tide. She enters the battlefield drawing us 2 and discarding 2, but anytime she attacks, if we have a big enough graveyard, she'll make an 8/8 blue octopus token. If we have a couple extra turns to use with Kiora, this would be a fantastic way to close out games. Just keep making more 8/8s until we have a big enough board to harm our opponents. If we can chain 2 or 3 extra turns together, that's going to be a lot of octopus on the board, and nobody is willing to eat that much octopus, I promise you, unless they're weird and spend their time on DeviantArt. That all said, that's it for the draw package of the deck. Now we gotta talk about removal and interaction so that we can slow our opponents down a little bit. You know, because time compression. For the removal and interaction package, we've got some pretty beefy creatures so we can try to close out games if need be. Dusk Mangler's a great blink target, as is the Vile Mutilator, since they make our opponents lose 6 cards worth of resources, and then, in the case of Dusk Mangler, it also burns everybody for 4. We're going to have some counter spells to protect ourselves, like Sinister Sabotage, Refute, and Negate. All of these can protect our strategy, and in the case of the Sabotage and the Refute, they can also be used to throw things into our grave. Then we have a Feed the Swarm to get rid of enchantments if need B, Dalek Drone, Noxious Gearhulk, and Ravenous Chupacabra as creatures that can be blinked and blow up anything on the board. And then we have Overwhelming Remorse, which can exile any creature or planeswalker and cost less if we have a large enough graveyard. Honestly, why do more people not run this card? It's almost always going to be a 1-mana exiled creature or planeswalker. That's basically a Deadly Rollick with a tiny bit of setup. I need to start putting this in some decks, actually. This thing's such a good find for a deck like this. And for removal, we also need to make sure that the board can be wiped clean. For board wipes, we're going to have a Necromantic Selection, as we can flip Ultimecia with it, a Terror Tide, because it is a budget version of our Toxic Deluge that we would prefer to be running, if possible, and an Archfiend of Ilfnir, which allows us to turn all the discarding our draw engine does into negative counters on our opponent's board. This can be used very powerfully, and if we happen to have a clone of it out, or we happen to blink the card to protect it from removal, that just makes the card even more threatening for people. And, well, that does it for our removal package. All that's left is mana, so let's see what we can cook up in terms of spending 8 mana on extra turns. For our ramp package, we want to have a couple of the cards that can throw themselves into the graveyard if possible, or that can fill up our graveyard. So we're going to be running a Deranged Assistant and a Milkin, as these both can mill us cards to give us mana. And a Mind Stone and a Command Sphere, since we can sacrifice them to draw cards and also throw them into the grave to fill it up a little more. For 2-mana mana rocks, we have Sky Diamond, Fractured Parastone, and Charcoal Diamond. All these are your basic 2-mana mana rocks. A Wayfarer's Bauble, so that we can get a land from the deck, as it is the safest form of ramp in Magic the Gathering. Sad Robot, which does the same thing, and also draws us a card later if we need. And an Honored Heirloom, which we can use to get a card out of a graveyard if we need to stop our opponents from doing anything powerful. I actually got an opportunity to use this from one of my $15 decks on somebody recently when they thought they had the game, and I just said, nope, your graveyard is not ever happening ever again. And yeah, no, that's just fun. I love the Rainbow Rock. The Rainbow Rock can go in so many commander decks. Then, of course, we have the lands of the deck, 10 swamps and 12 islands with a swath of Dimir lands. River of Tears, Fetid Pools, as we can cycle it if need be, Darkwater Catacombs, Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Dimir Aqueduct to reuse utility lands, Tainted Isle, Choked Estuary, Sunken Hollow, and a Temple of Deceit to play early so that we can get that scry, with our fetching lands being Terramorphic Expanse, Ash Barrens, Evolving Wilds, and Myriad Landscape. Finally, our utility lands are going to be Port of Carfell, so we have more ways to reanimate, Drowned Temple, so we can ramp by discarding it, and Pit of Offerings, so that we can get rid of problematic cards in our opponent's graveyards. That does it for everything really in the deck. All that's left now is to talk about how to actually play this thing. Seed, time compression, something. We have a Looter in the opening hand. That's all I care about. Let's go ahead and see how we do. Let's go ahead and play the island and pass to our opponents. We go to the next turn, play an island, tap 2, and let's get the Thought Courier out on the board. Next turn, we have a Looter Ilkor available to us. Let's play the Dimir Aqueduct so that we have access to black mana later. And let's tap the Thought Courier after tapping 1 to play the Looter Ilkor to discard this Drowned Temple to draw a card. That gives us Negate, which will be perfect for a follow-up turn. Moving into turn 4, let's go ahead and play an island, and you know what? I want a little bit of extra mana, so let's tap 3 and let's play that Drowned Temple down as ramp. Does it come into play tapped? It does come into play tapped. Unfortunate for us. Let's go ahead and tap the Thought Courier to draw 1, discard 1. I don't like our options here, so we'll throw away a land, and we'll swing with Looter Ilkor to draw 1 and discard the island. No, we need that for the Choked Estuary play. You know what? It's going to have to be the island. I don't like it, but it's just going to have to be that way. Moving into turn 5, we have Exotic Orchard. That gives us access to our last black mana. Fantastic. That pulled us out of a bad situation. Let's go ahead and pay 1, 2, 3 for Disinformation Campaign. No, at this stage of the game, somebody's got a threat out. Let's go ahead and play Ravenous Chupacabra, blowing up the threat, and we'll use a Negate to stop them from doing anything else after that. Let's tap the Thought Courier to draw 1 and discard that Muldrifter. And let's swing the Looter Ilkor to draw 1 and discard that island. Moving into turn 6, we have a Vohar in our hand. That'll be perfect for in a minute. Do we want Sorceress Ultimecia out? I think we can probably manage it. She costs 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think we play her yet, actually. I think we do Muldrifter. Reason I say that is because I want to get more cards out and available to us. So let's go ahead and play Coiling Rebirth, get the Muldrifter out, and create a clone of the Muldrifter. This will allow us to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, and now we can play the Choked Estuary, showing everybody the swamp, giving us access to Vohar. So we are set up for that. And, of course, we can tap Thought Courier, draw a card, discard that land, swing with the Looter Ilkor, draw a card, and discard... we'll keep the land this time, but I like everything else in the hand, so we'll just discard the Dreadwing Scavenger. Dreadwing Scavenger, that can go away. Boom. Okay, let's move into turn 7, and let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Play River of Tears, and let's trick our opponents into what our play is supposed to look like. Our play should be, here's Disinformation Campaign. I get to draw a card. You all discard a card. I'm going to pay 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my Sorceress Ultimecia. That's going to put the Disinformation Campaign back in my hand after I Surveil 2 and throw away one of those cards. That's what my plan is, guys. I just want to use the Disinformation Campaign. Tee-hee, hee-hee, hee-hee, hee-hee. That's what the plan is. Let's go ahead and tap Thought Courier, draw 1, discard the Terramorphic Expanse. And let's go ahead and tap the Vohar, draw 1. And we'll keep the... do we keep the Ancient Stone Idol? We hold on to it. We discard the island. And then we'll swing the Looter Ilkor, drawing yet another card, and we'll get rid of the Reckless Scholar. There we go. That's our setup right now. We're okay with the setup. Moving to turn 8, we have the Evolving Wilds. Let's go ahead and play it and crack it. That does put another card into our grave, which is perfectly fine. That also turns the River of Tears into a black land. So now we are going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have exactly enough mana for Time Compression, but we don't have the board state for Time Compression. So we are going to pay 3 for the Disinformation Campaign so we can draw a card, and we are going to pay 4 in order to play the Wineldor. No, we don't do the Disinformation Campaign. I want to, but I think the most important thing to do is hold up the mana for Negate and Refute, assuming we're going to have to use one of them to protect our board on the follow-up turn. Because they see Wineldor, so they kind of know what's happening, right? Thought Courier, Vohar, and Looter Ilkor are going to do their usual draw multiple cards, discard cards thing. And now we've got the setup, so we need to make sure that our opponents are ready to lose to the setup. So we are sitting here with Ultimecia able to do her thing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana available. Let's tap Thought Courier to draw 1 and discard the Duskmangler. Let's tap Vohar to draw 1 and discard the Primordial. And let's go ahead and swing with Ultimecia and Wineldor. Ultimecia will Surveil 2. We're going to throw these 2 away. And Looter Ilkor will draw us 1, and it will discard the Ancient Stone Idol. And then the Wineldor is able to blink our Muldrifter. And by blinking our Muldrifter, we get to draw 2 additional cards, so we can play a Pit of Offerings to get rid of problematic things from a grave, and pay 1 to play the Nephalia Smuggler. Then as we end the turn, we pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we get to flip Ultimecia. Flipping Ultimecia automatically gives us an extra turn after this one, so we have our extra turn, and we have to exile 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards from the graveyard. We'll make sure that they're 8 cards that we don't care about, because there's plenty of good reanimation targets in here that I'd like to keep for a follow-up turn. There we go. This is our second turn, first of the extra turns. And let's go ahead and start out with tapping Vohar and the Thought Courier to draw and discard, draw and discard. Ultimecia is going to be able to do the Time Compression shit again. Wineldor is going to be blinking Ultimecia, so we don't have to worry about anything there. We don't have an extra card in hand. We had one, but we threw it away. We'll swing with the Looter Ilkor, the Mole Drifters, and Moneldor to deal some damage to somebody. And we will blink Ultimecia, and blinking Ultimecia surveils 2 cards. Let's go ahead and let it be the surveil that happens first. I would like to keep the Darkwater Catacombs and throw away the island. We'll draw the Darkwater Catacombs with the Looter Ilkor, and we will discard the Blight Titan. That gives us 16 cards in the grave. We'll be able to do time compression here in a bit, and we've got mana for counterspells. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana available. Ultimecia is going to be able to just give us another extra turn. So we untap going into the next extra turn by getting rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. We're going to call these cards the cards that will never be gotten rid of because we want to be able to reanimate those. They are technically in our grave still. And here we are once more in the same situation we were in before. So we are going to go ahead and play a land for the turn, and fuck it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 mana. So that means we have 4 available mana to utilize. Now that we have 4 available mana to utilize, we can start actually using Disinformation Campaign to make everybody discard a card and draw a card. That way, even when we run out of extra turns, they won't be able to fight back anymore. Let's tap the Thought Courier and the Vohar to draw a card and discard a card, and draw a card and discard a card. Let's go ahead and call it the Noxious Gear. No, it needs to be something we don't care about. Fuck it. It can be Blur. Why not? Blur can go away. 5 cards in grave. Moneldor is going to be able to, or Ultimecia is going to be able to swing, surveilling 2, and then Moneldor is going to blink. No, she did her thing already. She should be like this right now. So she's still going to surveil 2. Moneldor's going to blink her. Swing out with everything, as we did before. And Moneldor actually is going to blink Muldrifter instead, because I would like to use this Essence Flux in order to blink Ultimecia after she has swung. And now that she's blinked, we should be able to surveil 2, 1, and 2. Ooh, a Dread Return. Perfect. Let's use the Dread Return to get rid of that Muldrifter token, this Chupacabra we don't need, and what else is here that we don't necessarily need? The original Muldrifter can actually go. Why not? And let's use Dread Return to summon up Vile Mutilator? No, Dusk Mangler. Because we can blink the Dusk Mangler to hurt our opponents a lot. So let's throw all these back down. We don't care about them anymore. Now we're just going to do time compression again. Tap 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We no longer care about these cards. We've gone into the next extra turn. And you kind of see how we're going to be doing this, right? Like, we have the mana. Oh, Disinformation Campaign's in our hand. Hopefully you can basically see what we're going for here. We can chain enough, we can get enough cards in the graveyard to get another extra turn whenever we need, and then Nephalia Smuggler is going to be able to blink the Dusk Mangler, so we can generate 4 life of damage, and a creature gone, and a card from the hand gone each time. So even when we run out of cards, even when we run out of ways to get the extra turn, our opponents won't have the ability to fight back anymore. We have completely crippled them using this combo. We got it all done by turn 8 without any tutors as well, so I feel dirty. I thought this deck was only going to be able to do, like, a couple of extra turns, and then it would be done. We're on turn 4 of the extra turns, and looking at the math, I have the ability to get to turn 5 and even turn 6 pretty easy, because 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6. I can throw 6 cards away at a time, not counting the cards that get discarded out of my hand. So, I'm an asshole. I don't deserve Magic the Gathering cards. What is wrong with me? If you're upgrading this deck, since you have the ability to get extra turns, why not add in Channel Serenade? Screw it, why not? Just get 3 turns and just reanimate free creatures throughout the game. It's dumb, it's silly. That Muldrifter play was pretty fun, but what if we had a Baleful Strix to be a little more efficient during the gameplay? And the Duskmangler is one of my favorite cards in Magic, but if you have an unlimited budget instead of a $15 budget like this deck, then I'm sure that Grey Merchant of Asphodel would be an even better blink target, as it's going to burn your opponents for significantly more and put you in a better position if you ever get interrupted. And we are a combat deck, so Swifties and Lightning Greaves obviously are going to be able to power the deck quite a bit. Breach the Multiverse can wombo combo your opponents and set you up for a perfect multi-turn game-ending play. And hey, at the beginning of our upkeep, we get to mill cards with Purple of Undeath. Why not use that to fill up the grave for Ultimecia, you absolute bastard? Then let's run an Offer You Can't Refuse as a more better way to interact with our opponents so that we can protect our combo. And you know what? Just be an asshole. Just put a Doom Whisperer in here. Why not? I can't even. You're already picking this deck out of the $15 decks I've built. Why not go ahead and choose this as the thing that you put in to pay life and surveil to get whatever you want out of life and just take it violently? I don't know why I built this thing. I feel like I was possessed by a sorceress from the future to do all kinds of evil deeds that I normally would not do. And I'm gonna go play Final Fantasy VIII again. Actually, that was a fun time. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And Seed. I don't know how to end this video. I wanted some other joke about Final Fantasy VIII, but instead I'm just going to have to awkwardly cut it off in the middle of whatever I'm saying because I can't think of any other way to, like, wittily close this out. So, hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fire Shard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.